Well, Donald Trump's fate is in the hands of a grand jury in Manhattan, which could vote to indict the former president on charges that he paid hush money to adult film star Stormy Daniels. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who's expected to run against Trump for the GOP nomination, broke his silence about the investigation and defended his political rival.
If you have a prosecutor who is ignoring crimes happening every single day in his jurisdiction, and he chooses to go back many, many years ago to try to use something about porn star hush money payments, that's an example of pursuing a political agenda and weaponizing the office. And I think that that's fundamentally wrong.
Meanwhile, the former president is in Florida with his attorneys who say he will surrender if the grand jury votes to indict him. Trump's indictment watch continues. And joining us this morning, our political analysts Basil Smikle and Dan Casino to give us insight on what we may see happen today. So good to see you both in person.
Live and in
we kept asking you
Yeah.
to come in, and now you answered. So let's talk about this. Former president continues to engage his supporters online on Truth Social, right? So I want to play a clip and then get your reaction to the former president yesterday.
Our enemies are desperate to stop us because they know that we are the only ones who can stop them, and they know it very strongly.
All right, so he was right there talking about what he expects, so this is right out of the Trump playbook. But the question is, are his supporters coming out? He's calling for these protests. Let me begin with you, Basil. Are they coming out? We only saw two people outside Trump Tower yesterday, so really, what is happening here?
Well, look, he is essentially trying to signal to his supporters what to do in either situation. If there's an indictment, he wants to be able to say that, look, my supporters are out, they're with me, we're going to fight this. If there is no indictment, which is unlikely at this point, he'll be able to say, look, my supporters pushed them back. We beat down this sort of Democratic zealot who is trying to come after us. But the reality is that there's so many Republicans that are trying to get away from him right now. You had the Speaker of the House saying, don't go out and protest. So I think there's a little division within the Republican Party as folks try to figure out how to create that separation. But whatever supporters he has, whether they're a lot or a few, they're going to be really intensely supportive of him. But what does that look like in a place like New York City or in other parts of the country? Remains to be seen.
Some in the GOP say that indictment actually could benefit the party. And why do you think they're saying that?
Well, it certainly could benefit the president in that we are talking about Donald Trump. Donald Trump's superpower has always been that he's the center of attention, so no other candidate running for the GOP nomination can get any air because he's sucking up all the air in the room. So to the extent to which we're talking about Donald Trump is winning. That said, that goes away if you're actually in handcuffs, if you're actually indicted going up on trial. It's not clear if that would be an advantage. That said, he is forcing all his opponents to talk about him. Ron DeSantis does not want to be talking about Donald Trump. He wants to be talking about anything else. And so Donald Trump likes to be the center of attention. He is right now. He wanted to be the center of attention in the worst way, and now he's got it. He is the center of attention in the worst possible way.
Well, he's also the one who kind of created this whole thing by going out and saying he was going to be arrested on Tuesday and creating the media firestorm. Everybody, of course, beginning to watch out on Tuesday. But let's talk about this right now, because while we wait to see what actually happens in the courthouse, the Republican Party, I'm listening to you very carefully, it seemed to be trying to find their way. We're entering a campaign season as well. So are they going to rally around somebody else? It seems like a perfect opportunity for someone like Ron DeSantis.
It's interesting because, to your point, Donald Trump's poll numbers have actually gone up a little bit. Ron DeSantis come down. Now, that's a snapshot in time. That may change. But the reality is that you had Mike Pence, who's tried to create some distance from Donald Trump. The Republicans are in a retreat right now. They're trying to figure out what's our policy direction going into this election year. But the reality is they cannot get away from talking about and responding to a Donald Trump. Look, if you grew up in New York, Trump was ubiquitous. He was always sort of trying to get into the news, like thinking about running for office in music videos. He was in a Bobby Brown video. And so he just understand how that sort of microcosm gets expanded and amplified nationally. He's still doing it, albeit for trying to rally his support for an impending indictment.
Well, knowing what we know about him loving the attention, if he is indicted, do you think that Trump will be more willing to just surrender, or what's your take on that?
Yeah, that's what we're saying. His attorneys said he would just surrender. If he did not surrender, it would be an extradition that weirdly would have to be signed off by Ron DeSantis, who would have to agree to extradite him, putting him in a very difficult position. but it looks like he will surrender because that does give more control over the process. So if it's surrender, there wouldn't necessarily be a perp walk, there wouldn't necessarily be handcuffs. It could all be handled privately and behind the scenes.
But how do you see this all playing out? Because you're the political science guy, right? So just walk us through the indictment versus an actual conviction, because there's two different barometers here on a majority versus everybody having to vote to convict.
Right. So the grand jury is 23 members. They often don't hear from anyone on the defense side. And so the prosecutors often say, can get the grand jury to indict a ham sandwich. Like, grand juries will indict whoever you want. It's just a majority vote on the grand jury to indict. However, after that happens, then you actually have to go to trial. There's going to be a lot of pretrial motions. That's going to take months, maybe years, and then you actually have a trial. At that actual trial, of course, you need to have a jury selection, and you have to have a unanimous vote of that jury. And in a politically charged case like that, it's incredibly difficult. This case is also going to be subject to lots and lots of pretrial motions because the theory of the case is up in the air. It's not clear if this has ever been attempted before because the campaign finance violation is only a felony if it's linked to another crime, and the other crime was a federal crime rather than a state crime. It's not clear exactly how everybody's going to structure this in order to get past a judge.
And just very quickly, the reality is, as much as that's true, there are other cases that are actually moving more quickly. The Mar-a-Lago case and the special counsel, that is actually moving at a breakneck speed. And then we also have the racketeering and conspiracy case in Georgia. So we may actually hear about developments there quicker than we may hear about the Manhattan case.
Interesting. A long road ahead, yet the wait continues.
All during a presidential election cycle at the same time.
Dan Casino, Basil Smikle, thanks again for coming into the studio. So great to see you.
Good to see you.